Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. I'm James McGowan.
I'm Jessica Faust.
And we are literary agents who have taken our popular blog to YouTube to discuss all things publishing. Today, I think we have a topic we haven't talked much about on the blog, on the YouTube.
You know what? I'm so excited about this.
We are doing sort of an author financials 101 type of video.
Yes, we are, because it's important.
It is, and there have been a lot of conversations lately about, just the transparency of how difficult it is to work through the financials of being an author, being an agent, being in publishing in general. So we thought we would start from the bottom and give you a little introduction course to it all.
Yeah, so a little bit of crash course, I hope, on how authors get paid and how it works, but also a little bit of some tips and some knowledge of, how to manage your finances as an author, maybe what you should consider.
Yeah, and just a disclaimer here that we are not your accountant, so you should speak to your accountant. This is just an agent's point of view of the sort of common things that you will run up against in publishing financials.
Yeah, we are not accountants. We are not financial planners. We're coming from our own knowledge and our own experience, and, advise you to get an accountant and a financial planner, which we'll talk about more in detail throughout the video today.
Yes. So our goal is just to inform you about what's going on. You take it from there.
Yeah.
But I guess we should start in the most obvious place with how authors get paid in the first place.
Yeah. So there's this terminology we use that we sell a book to a publisher, which we don't. We actually license the rights to the publisher to give them permission to publish the book, which is very different than selling. We are going to talk sort of, generally about how this works. Let's say if you work with a big 5 publisher, obviously there are nuances to all of this, but this is generally what you can expect. And the first thing you can expect is an advance.
Yes.
And an advance is not a payment for your book. It is literally what it sounds like, an advance against your future earnings.
Right. And I think that a lot, like once you're in publishing, that's obvious, right? Everybody knows that. But
I think we think everybody knows that.
That's true.
But I think that most fiction authors that I work with, I believe, know that, because usually fiction authors have been in trenches a little bit with other authors. But this is definitely something I explain to quite a few of my nonfiction authors who don't realize it until they get a contract offer in many cases.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that, maybe because I don't work with nonfiction authors, but it's something that changes once you realize that you have to pay back the publisher that advance. It changes everything.
Yeah.
Because,
so go on.
No, go ahead, you go.
I was going to say, so if you receive a $10,000 advance, I like to keep my numbers simple. If you receive a $10,000 advance, you need to earn that back at your royalty rate. So that means that if you receive a 10% royalty and your book sells for $10, you are going to receive $1 on every book you sell. So you don't start earning royalties until you sell 10,000 books.
That was very simple. I love that math.
Very simple. Now, the truth is there are other ways to earn that money back. And those are through, obviously there's print books and there's ebooks. If the publisher retains certain rights like audio and foreign and sells those on your behalf, you will get a portion of that money as well that will go to earn out the advance. And we have definitely had authors who've had sales like audio or foreign that the publisher has retained that has more than earned out the advance in one sale.
Yes, for sure. And something to note here too. So if the publisher themselves are issuing the type of format, ebook, paperback, hardcover, audio, whatever, you will get a royalty rate, and that royalty rate will be in your contract as well. But if the publisher licenses another company to do that, you will get a portion of the amount the publisher earns on that.
Right. So that's a lot of sort of technical stuff that we'll probably need to discuss in another video. Licensing means, again, you've licensed the publisher the rights to publish your book. They may go to France and license a French publisher to publish your book in French. Right. That would be a foreign right. Audio, obviously, you all should know what an audiobook is. And typically, the publisher works with an audio company on that. So there are lots of different ways to make money. But I think the important thing in this conversation is that your advance is a payment that is an advance against your royalties. The other thing to note is if you earn a $10,000 advance, you're not going to get $10,000 the minute you sign the contract.
Yes, another misconception.
Yes, there is going to be a payout. It could take 2 years for you to get that full $10,000.
Yeah.
It depends on the publisher, it depends on the contract. It also depends on how much the advance is, how spread out it will be, right. Because obviously the publisher also wants to hold on to their money longer. But, you know, typically you'll receive a payment upon signing of the contract. You'll receive a payment upon delivery and acceptance of the manuscript, which means that not just when you turn in the manuscript, you don't get that payment. It means when you've completed all the edits and the editor and you are satisfied, and now it's time to go on to the next steps is when you receive that money. That's the acceptance part of that.
Right. Usually when it goes to copy edits in most places.
Usually, yes. And then you'll receive a payment sometimes upon publication. Now, I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of all the different ways that can be split up, but it will be in your contract. Your payments are split up and you receive $2,500 on signing and $2,500 on this and $2,500 on that. It'll show. But given how slow the publishing process can be, and given that you may have to write a book that you haven't yet written yet, especially if it's a multi-book contract, that $10,000 can easily take 2 years to get. So don't quit your day job.
Don't quit your day job. I think we have a whole video on don't quit your day job.
I do.
So the next step from those are the basic money terms are how you actually get paid. So you talked a little bit about the payout, but now it's important to note that in most cases, your money will flow through your literary agent. Yes. And once your agent receives that chunk of money, which is say your $5,000 on signing advance, they will take their commission and then pay you that amount less 15%.
Yes. So that is one of your business expenses, is to pay your agent. In some worlds, the person who pays the person actually physically does it. In book publishing, and I would guess entertainment business as a whole. I mean, I don't know much about like management companies that manage actors or other things, but my guess is it's a similar setup where, you know, if you are an actor, your agent gets paid and your manager gets paid and then sends the money to you. So that's the way it works. We take out our commission and then send the check to you. Right.
So then that means that you will get all tax forms in that situation from your agent.
Yes. And if you're paid direct, if you are paid directly from the publisher, your tax forms will come from the publisher.
Exactly. And now taxes are where I begin to hate my life. So Jessica will talk about taxes.
Taxes are where everybody hates their life.
Yeah.
There are a couple of things so you will be taxed on royalties. Your advance payments are also considered royalties because it's an advance against royalties. So in most cases, when you get your tax form, under the royalty, the little box that says royalties, that's where your income will be. There are a couple of ways agents could do this, and I would make sure you know how it's done. And that's that either they will put in that form the gross amount, and you will then deduct commissions paid, or they will put the net amount, which is the amount sent to you, less commissions. Commissions are typically standard, but depending on what rights the agent held, it could be a little different. In other words, a standard agent commission is 15%. But if it's a sub-right sale, it could be anywhere from 5% to 20% was taken. So sometimes the net amount is easier because you don't need to go back through your check stubs to try to figure out how much commission was taken. If you're not sure which your agent is paying on and whether you should deduct commissions, you should definitely check with your agent.
It's simple as.
And you know, your accountant may file in multiple ways. They might say, let's put in the gross as your earnings and write off your agent as an expense, or let's put in the net as your earnings because that's what you actually earned. I don't know. I'm not an accountant. I don't know what's right or wrong. That's a conversation you have with me.
And it'll likely change for each individual too.
Yes. So a big part of taxes are expenses. And, you know, as a writer, you have a business and you have business expenses. You have a computer, probably Wi-Fi, a website.
Microsoft Word. Or
Pardon?
any word processing company.
Yeah, maybe you made bookmarks. Maybe you made t-shirts. I don't know.
Traveling for events.
Right. So you will have expenses. I have a tip.
Yeah, it's a good tip.
When you get your first contract, when that money is going to start to come in, get yourself a business credit card. They usually have an annual fee, but the reason why is at the end of the year, they will send you a full statement breakdown of your expenses for the year, which will say travel and list all your travel expenses. And they'll say office, and it'll list office supply expenses. So anytime you go to Staples, it'll be listed under there. That way you don't have to come February or March, open up a shoebox and start, you know, and getting the old school calculator out and start trying to figure out your expense costs. You have the credit card thing, you can give that to your accountant. Here's my expenses. And the annual fee on the credit card is a business expense. So you can include that too. Yes. So, you know, and if you are a super organized person and you really say, you know, I'm a business owner as an author, then you can also get a money management software that you can run through your business, which means every time you get paid, you can put that in there. You could put the commissions that came off, you could put the gross, you could put the commissions that came off, and you can put all your business expenses. In fact, you can link it to your credit card usually, and your credit card will automatically flow in all the business expenses that are on there. So at the end of the year, you'll have a full report, which honestly, if you're going to take this seriously as a business owner, that will actually show you more than anything whether you're taking home any money or blowing it all on business expenses.
Especially as your books, you know, you have more and more books hitting the shelf. It's going to get more and more to manage and more complicated. So it's worth investing, even if it's an Airtable base, which, you know, I love my Airtable.
Yeah, but if you do, so there's QuickBooks, but QuickBooks has one that's a personal expense one called mint.com, which I think is like $4 a month. And I know there are others. And if you did something like Mint, you could connect it to a bank account. So if you put a certain, like you open a savings account, let's say, strictly for your income. So your direct deposit from your writing goes into there. You could connect that and you could connect the credit card. You don't even have to really go in there. Everything would automatically flow in. So it would be an easy way to be able to track that and never have to manually put anything in.
Right.
Just a thought.
Lots of good tips.
You know, and I would recommend with your taxes that, you know, author taxes aren't necessarily tricky, but an accountant can make them so. And I would strongly recommend when you have a business that you get a CPA and not just Uncle Bob to do your taxes, because Uncle Bob's a super nice guy, but he's also constantly telling you that you can't expense things that are just clear business expenses for your writing business. And you need somebody who's going to say, yeah, absolutely, you should be expensing your computer and your home office and, you know, a portion of your Wi-Fi and whatever else you need to be expensing because you're running a business. So that would be my advice on taxes. I can't tell you, don't ask even in the comments whether certain things are expenses for your writing? Because I don't know.
And this is why we are just giving you the basic information and you talk to your accountant.
Don't stick the IRS on me because I told you to do something. But that's my advice on that. And I do think expenses are important. And an accountant who says, do you have these expenses because we could write them off, is so valuable.
Worth their weight in
worth
gold.
the cost.
Right.
So the other thing, you know, and I think the thing that's important is all of this should give you perspective. You know, even if, you know, let's raise our numbers a little, but, you know, let's say you get $100,000 advance. That's fantastic. I mean, right? It's a good chunk of money until you realize it's on 2 books and it's going to be paid out over 4 years. And then suddenly it's still a lot of money, but is it job quitting money? And that's where you really need to start to think. And then the greater the advance, so then let's say it's $50,000 a book and you're still selling the book for $10 and it's still getting $1 a book. Again, this is simple math. Don't write these numbers down and pretend this is what your contract is going to be. This is just Jessica math. Now you got to sell 50,000 copies to earn out the advance on that book. And that might take a little bit longer for then you to earn royalties. So, so I think it's really just important to understand the money of publishing. And I think the most important resource you have in all of this is your agent.
Yep.
So,
exactly, because your agent knows exactly what you're getting paid, what your rates are, your subsidiary right splits are. They know the full picture. So it's worth speaking to them about sort of how that might shake out and then taking that information to your accountant. I keep saying taking it to your accountant because it's a very important step, and don't skip that step.
It is a very important step. And yes, you know, these are questions that you should reach out to your agent and talk about if you have questions about it, or, you know, just need some more information. The other thing I want to talk about a little, which is a bit of a soapbox talk with me, is your financial future as an author. You know, the dream is that you're going to be earning royalties for years on these books. So with that in mind, you need to prepare for the financial future of what happens if I die? And where does that money go? But it happens so often, and I guess this just is general, that people don't prepare for this. So checks are going out and then they're coming back because authors have moved, they have died, we don't know how to contact them, and they have not left us any information on what to do. But what I've discovered too is they haven't left our information for their next of kin. So I've heard this a lot from people who are like, thanks so much for reaching out. We had no idea how to get a hold of you after they passed. So make those plans, make a file, you know, make plans for a literary estate of some sort. Because luckily after you die, hopefully that money will not stop, but somebody's got to cash those checks.
Yeah, otherwise that money's just sitting there waiting for somebody to. So
yeah, and then other things to consider, especially when you start earning more, are, you know, when you work a standard job, oftentimes you get some sort of a retirement fund. You're not going to get that with an author. So those kinds of things are things to talk to a financial planner about, sort of long term, of what can I do and how can I save, and all of those things that I am not an expert in, but think are very important conversations that everybody should be having.
yes, and I think that was a lot of information, but bookmark this video. It's worth knowing everything we talked about and being prepared for it. Even if you don't have a book coming out yet, it's worth understanding and being ready and prepared to tackle it for when you do have a book coming out. And
also, if you're self-published, it matters too, because if you die, who's got your passwords, who knows where the money goes, and who's going to control that? And that is all important as well. So,
and you can never plan for it to. I mean, I have my little envelope with everything in it for somebody to take if I go, because you never know. So don't think that it's something for the future you to worry about, because you just never know.
Also, if you prepare for it, it just won't happen.
It's true. Hopefully. Well, we hope this was helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we hope to see you back here next time.
Bye.